Yeah, it's daily game design time, and I have some really cool news. It's really cool, but also a little unfortunate. So you'll remember that. Actually, you might not remember. I'm not too sure. I I talked with an organization, humanitarian organization called ADRA, the Adventist Development and Relief Agency. This was a couple months ago now, and actually, I'm kind of curious. I don't remember exactly when we talked. Um, hmm. Yeah, it would have been almost a month and a half ago. So we had a really great meeting. Their head of marketing, I think, and then Sharon, who is the one that is like spearheading, initiating this project with ADRA. Um, so yeah, we had a nice meeting, and then I sent a proposal in, and then didn't hear back for like, I don't know. Time passed. Let me see when I texted Sharon. So I sent the proposal August 12th. She met, looks like August 13th, I got a reply. And then August 28th, so about 2 weeks later, I said, "Hey, I'm excited to hear how the discussion is progressing." And then on Monday this week, I said, "Any updates? I imagine it's still a volatile time over there." And now there's some background. The ADRA is one of the relief agencies, one of the humanitarian orgs that was affected with the USAID's funding slashes that happened. When was that? January, February. And so they were under a lot of stress. A bunch of people got laid off. They got a new CEO. They have other leadership. There was turnover. And so it was, really unclear as to whether or not this would be a good decision at the moment. Because what we're talking about is designing a game, building a game that would be engaging for kids, for families. That would be a nice tool to help people understand what it is ADRA does, what are some of the values that ADRA holds, and what sort of projects does ADRA work on. So we're thinking this would be a really cool thing. Maybe it's a stocking stuffer. Maybe it's a way, maybe it's something that as they go around and do programming and stuff, then maybe they have it available on like a merch table, or maybe they do giveaways during the holidays, and it's maybe a fundraiser in that way. But the point is, the idea is to develop a revenue stream for ADRA, partly to like inch toward sustainability, self-sustainability. How great would it be if such an organization had what it needed happening in the background, like running up these little engines, these little economic engines, so that it didn't need funding from USAID. It produced quality stuff that people enjoy, that they're willing to invest in, and at the same time, they can route money or different. They can route capital to do projects that they, typically would. So it just seems like a nice thing. So if they can go on, exist without, bulk funding from governments, that sounds awesome. Anyway, so the timing was really interesting for me to connect with Sharon. This was through a mutual friend of ours who used to work for ADRA. I mean, the connection came through a mutual friend. And I left this blue tack stuff on my desk, and it just pulled off a little chunk of paint when I pulled it off after leaving it overnight. Anyway, so a friend of mine, Jody, from New York, I grew up with Jody. We did Pathfinders together. She used to work there. She knows I'm designing games. and she connected me with Sharon. But the fun connection beyond that is that I actually was on a gymnastics team with Sharon's daughter when I was attending Andrews University in Michigan. So there was just this cool triangulation of this little network. And when we met earlier, well, this was, the month and a half, 2 months ago almost. When we met at that time, it was really cool to connect again with Sharon, continue talking, and then also connect with this marketing guy who is a VP for something, VP for marketing, maybe marketing and development. And they've been working on other creative projects. Sharon is again spearheading some stuff that's really, I think, going to be really useful, really practical for the organization, including some coloring books and other stuff. So this game concept came at just a really cool time. We had a great meeting, and then I waited. So I texted a couple times. I just got a text back. I wish I had gone long story short on this. I got a text this morning saying, "Hey, good to hear from you. I emailed several weeks ago to let you know we'd like to move ahead with game development. Let me know a good time for a quick Zoom meeting." So we had this problem before. That's why I started texting. So her emails go directly to my trash folder. And I looked around today in my filter and spam filter settings and stuff like that. Maybe I didn't go. I know I checked my filters. Let me see if I can find something else. But how aggravating. Actually, it's the timing is also fine here, because after there's nothing in here. I used to set up a lot of filters to label stuff, and some of those things I treated like spam, but there's nothing here about ADRA. So I have no clue. Are there any other spam settings I need to know about? Because that was really that's frustrating. We'll be fine. We'll figure it out. But I don't understand. So she sent emails. The first one was, let me find it. The first one came, "You're on, August 27. So we met. Oh, interesting. So she said, "Nick and I were reviewing this week." That was August 13. August 28, I texted. That's when I said, "Hey, I'm excited to hear how the discussion is progressing." So she sent one on August 27 saying, "You're on." So what in the world? What in the world? So we lost a month's time, a month's worth of work. I want to say the timing, it's partly okay because that's when I was really getting into class anyway. Now with the retreat, and once the retreat is over, in 2 weekends from now, I am gonna have more time. I'm gonna have more time to really go all in, and I'm really glad I have this habit established. So thank you for being a part of this situation. Let me see, is this? Yeah. So anyway, I'm really excited. So this is going to be a pretty hard pivot away from Sugar Shack. The cool thing is that, with some of the recent playtesting and some of the ideas from Mike, from Eli, from Aaron, from Andrew, from some of the recent input I have from you folks, I feel like Sugar Shack is essentially pitchable at this point. So that's why actually yesterday I spent time, I'm going to show you this. I spent time building a sell sheet for it. And what, Eli had a little bit of feedback. What was that? Oh, and I was going to change something here. Race toward sounds more intense. Okay, so what I have is it looks a little busy, but I feel like the colors, there's enough contrast hopefully that will grab the person's attention without feeling overwhelmed. Maybe they'll be overwhelmed. I'm not too sure. I mean, whoever's reading this. So I basically have a sell sheet template now after making a bunch of these, getting feedback. So for the most part, when I have a new game to build a sell sheet for, I'll just copy one of these and then switch out details. Because let's see, the important stuff: contact information, game demographic. I don't actually know game. I feel like demographics is actually like a decent word here for these details. How many players? It's player count, playtime, and minimum age is usually on these things. It's usually on the game box, so it should be on the sell sheet. Ooh, what I don't have on here is like an expected retail price. That could be something to add. But that would be more like having a relationship with like a distributor, maybe. But anyway, here is on that note, that's why the components list is here. It's so that there's a sense of what the game would cost to build, to manufacture. Okay, and then I like this. This was actually AI made right here. The Sugar Shack image. I like it though. I like how cool, like the cool colors, the blues, grays, and then those nice highlights of the actual cabin. That looks really nice. Okay, it's spring in Maplewood. I actually bought, you know, the reason I have this microphone is because I was interested in recording audiobooks. I have no idea if anybody would like to hear my voice for a long time. But I think it'd be cool. Yeah, okay. I think hey Mike. I guess that's just what, like, it'd be an interesting thing to guess along with components. I mean, you're right though. It's not really my business. Okay. So, it's spring in Maplewood, and the sap is flowing. Manage your Sugar Shack efficiently. Gain the favor of the townsfolk, and outmaneuver your rival to become the grand syrup maker of Maplewood. I feel like that's fine. I think it captures the tone because there's some intensity. I also like the warmth of connecting with the town and the townsfolk built in there. So I think that's kind of neat. Sugar Shack is a sweet mini Euro. I also hope this becomes fashionable. This hyphenated term here. Because it is a Euro. It is. Essentially it's a Euro. And how do we know? There's generally low randomness. Yeah, right. Low randomness. There's some interaction, but it's not a lot. It's certainly not anything like Take That. And it's about building something, getting stronger. And I feel like a lot of Euros tend to be in that category of like efficiency puzzle plus get better at a thing. So engine building, deck building, all that stuff where you sort of gain strength over the course of the game. Okay, so Sugar Shack is a sweet mini Euro for 1 to 2 players with worker placement, resource management, and emergent asymmetry. The emergent asymmetry, I like this idea. I was thinking to put engine building it's certainly a more recognizable category or genre. But I love the concept of emergent asymmetry in general. So it is definitely in vogue for games to offer asymmetry from the start. Of course, we're talking about player powers or some kind of special ability that I have access to that you don't have access to. And that's fine. I think I'm not sure how I feel about it. First of all, to me, it seems like a huge risk to do that in a game. There are games that 100% blow my mind. One of them is The Voyages of Marco Polo. Brilliant, in my view, brilliant game, brilliant design, because the player powers in that game are like when you hear what somebody's ability is, you think there is no way that's okay. That is so strong, that's crazy. So everybody has these like game breaking things that they can do. It's unbelievable. And still my feeling is like it's more like, wow, that ability sounds awesome, but you know what? Mine is super awesome. And everybody kind of has that feeling. And anyway, so that's exciting. But then I think it's crazy because it introduces all kinds of like balancing problems. I should say puzzles. And it's not really something I would like to deal with here. Because this is my first attempt at a Euro, where it's definitely an efficiency and balancing problem as we've been working on. So, anyway, I'm not super excited about asymmetry at the start of a game. I recently got an expansion for Lost Ruins of Arnak, and it came with a couple of leaders in the game that like you have your own little system to work with. I don't think it's not like, I suppose you're probably better at one thing, maybe worse at another. I'm not really sure. I haven't played a lot with the leaders. And so that adds something fresh for experienced players. And then, of course, there are definitely games that are just built on it, right? I can think of, what is it? Oh, Vast, right? Vast, I think, was one of the earlier ones. Then, of course, there's Root. I have Merchant's Cove, which is everybody playing their own mini games, and that's interesting. But what I love is emergent asymmetry. So, like, the asymmetry at the start is okay, it's fine. But emergent asymmetry is really cool. Offers the same or similar problems. Like, it's taken a while for me to settle on the abilities the upgrades in the Sugar Shack, or even in the grant office. those abilities definitely feel very different, and I think they apply in different situations, which is perfect, right? I think what you want is for a player to have to choose from among multiple viable options or multiple attractive options. There will be times in this game when it's obvious what the upgrade should be. And that's okay too. I think that analysis still comes with an understanding of the board state. Or that conclusion that, why would I choose anything else? Well, I think I mentioned when I played Andrew on Monday night, it was the first time I chose the grant office benefit or upgrade of taking five meeples, 5 workers next turn, 5 extra meeples. So I had 7. It was super nuts. And there was urgency around being able to do a lot of things in a very short amount of time. So that was perfect for me. There will be other cases, like say you get a grant, if the grant office comes out turn 1 or 2, you might have time to build up to 1 or 2 grants. Imagining having 2 grant upgrades. That would be super insane. Like, I don't know how, I just feel like no opponent could come back from that situation. There's no way. because they're really strong, but they're also very, very situational. So the attraction for me there is that we start the same, but by the end of the game, we're in very different. We've built out our Sugar Shack and chosen Grand Office abilities in very different ways. For me, that's really, really cool. Okay, so I want to. Oh, the other thing that Eli mentioned: simple variable setup. I do think this matters. So I appreciate him mentioning that. Yeah, okay, so let's go through these. We'll look at highlights real quick. Cards, well, the components, I feel decent about this ballpark. 32 cards. Because right now I think there are 28 in the game, something like that. 27 or 28. Plus cards for player aids. Anyway, just a little flexibility there at the top. Oh, I was gonna save some resources on my laptop. Yeah, okay. So the order I chose, just look at the highlights. So simple variable setup, elegant upkeep and play. I don't know if this one is necessary here. I think I'm gonna take it out. It feels a little self-serving, and well, it should be. It better be. If it's not, why are you pitching us this game? Am I right? What do you think about that, Mike? Yeah. Wait. Number 2 in what I just said, or number 2 on the sell sheet? Oh yeah. Right. Nice. Yeah. I think I'm excited about it just because I know where the game has come from. But for publisher, they'll be like, yeah, why would you give us a junk game? Why would you be pitching something bulky and awkward? Take your trash home. All right. So simple variable setup. Simple. Quick. Maybe it's about speed. Or maybe just take setup out. Because what is the main game breaking is also a little bit intense here, but I actually, I mean, once you get a Grant Office upgrade, I think the game has changed significantly for you. So I don't mind that, but it feels a little bit like it's like a cheap marketing trick. Integrated variability? What are you trying to you're trying to get them to pull out their dictionaries? Integrated variability. What in the world, Mike? it's nice. Integrated variability. So I think I know the idea you're after, and that is that the way that focus on the experience of the highlights. I'm gonna leave these 2 for now. I think dynamic worker placement locations communicates variability, and so does emergent asymmetry. So I think I'm like that. These might be okay just to leave it super focused like this. If there's a possibility that I identify, or we identify more of what makes this game essentially interesting, but I think these two actually might capture enough for the moment. Okay, so this is boring, I understand. Supervised syrup production. But I think what I like about that is it's very concrete, and it also unique experiences each game through setup variability. I think communicating that every game is going to be different is important. I like because yes, I like this idea of shifting strategies for sure. The reason I like it is because the focus is then on gameplay and not board state. So as in player decisions rather than yes. Yep, I'm following that. I think that's right. Shifting strategies. Shifting strategies through dynamic locations. What if I flip-flop it? So dynamic worker placement or dynamic locations lead to shifting strategies. There's just this weird this connective tissue right here that for me is a bit awkward. Shifting strategies. It's we're looking for something like because of yeah. Dynamic. I'll try that. I'll try that. Lead to or produce, because we're talking about production of maple syrup. No, produce is sitting right there. Lead to shifting strategies. Yeah, but I like that. I really like that focus on the effect of board state. The effect of board state on player decision making seems really important. So that's cool, I guess. Let's see. Then I think I'm okay with these two for now. Dynamic worker placement locations lead to shifting strategies. Emergent asymmetry. This is awkward. Emergent asymmetry. I could do some parallelism. Game breaking upgrades lead to emergent asymmetry. No, that's not quite right, actually. Game breaking upgrades. Yeah, because this is a sentence fragment, which I like. Emergent asymmetry through game-breaking upgrades. Shifting strategies. Yeah, this is, I feel, a limitation of English here, what we're running up against. Because if one is a full sentence, the other should be a full sentence. I don't want to spend too much time on this. Now suddenly I'm feeling some more urgency to get going on ADRA HQ, but yeah, it's about it's about shaping. It is about shaping a strategy, right? It's about kind of picking a profitable direction in the game. Oh, what about this? Well, let's just smash them together, Mike. Shifting strategies due to... I'm not committed to that. Nobody likes to see a due to, okay? But it's what it is at the moment. Dynamic worker placement locations and emergent and game breaking upgrades. Highlight. We can have one highlight. Heck yeah. Maybe now there's space for shifting strategies due to dynamic worker placement locations and game breaking upgrades. Oh, now I can flip these. Now we've got a lead to. We've got a lead to in the pipe here. Lead to shifting strategies. Yeah, why are you bold? Thanks too. That's so cute. Yeah. I don't mind that optimism. Dynamic worker placement locations and game breaking upgrades lead to shifting strategies. I don't mind a complete sentence here if it's just one. The highlight is... I think that's it. I do think that's it. I think that's what draws the person in. Is that, whoa, town is changing. Here's this mayor's favorite card showing up. I think I'm starting to call them mayor cards. And then, let me pick which thing to, like, yeah, what am I going to upgrade? How fast am I going to work toward a Grand Office upgrade? Well, I like that some sell sheets have hook on them. Also, I think this needs to be marked somehow. Let me see what it looks like without it. So this would be to, like, get rid of this bullet point here, right? It saves space, which I like. Let me see this. So now it would just be to, like... this is almost like the... Yeah, so something kind of like this. It's funny, like, I feel like I'm not really good at this, but, like, doing it more and more, learning a little bit of these. Probably, we're talking color in that case. What if we brighten it just a little bit? It's hard to read. This font is not amazing. Yeah, what other font can I use? What is this? It's the same, right? It's all the same. Huh. What I could do think what I think what I can do here is no, it's a I don't it's a decent idea. I think. I see what you mean. Right, right, right. Yeah, phew, I think I think I don't mind taking up this area because I like the flow, the rest of it, the feng shui of the rest of the solo sheet. So you just make it really nuts here. So now let's see what happens. That blue looks kind of dumb, in my view. I like the message though. I just don't like the font. This is not horrible. Oh, what happened here? Anyway, I think I'm agonizing at length here. Almost a little unnecessarily, perhaps. I mean, I know it's important. Uh-oh, getting dangerous with the white text. That's not cool. That's pretty legible, hey. You are not going to miss that. I'll tell you that much. Okay, for the last couple minutes, then I am going to shift over to ADRA HQ. Let me see if I got a message. Not yet. Okay, so dynamic worker placement locations and game-breaking upgrades lead to shifting strategies. Thank you for that language there. Okay, number one, supervise, serve production, upgrade your sugar shack. So something I learned from, I want to say this is from the email. I got an email back from the AEG CEO. Why can't I think of his name right now? I sent him this game, actually, and got some feedback. I sent him a sell sheet and a video, got some feedback on the video, and the game at that point was very, very underbaked, undercooked. Now I think we're reaching that maturity where it is reasonable to send stuff like this in. I didn't know that. I think I was rushed. You know, I allowed myself to be rushed because there were a couple calls that were going out, Galen's Games, and then I saw this invitation from AEG. So anyway, I knew I rushed it. I knew I had an idea, but it wasn't viable in that form. So that's what I sent these guys, and so it's a little bit sad. But anyway, one of the things that I have picked up in these exchanges, I think it was with this, what's his name? Can't think of it. But like to really focus on what players get to think about, like what do they care about, what would draw them in, what are the interesting choices. And so here it's some, I've noticed, and I used to do this, but some people actually just like describe how the game works, right? they actually say, like, step by step, on your turn, do this thing, then do this thing. And there's a little practicality in that. It's helpful to get a sense of the mechanics, I think. And it's possible that I'm missing some of that here, but yeah, because like it's not obvious that this is worker placement except for these two little dudes sitting here, right? But what I think this does, watch the town awaken. I think it does communicate. We have dynamic worker. I think this captures the dynamism of the game more than a little description. Now pay the cost and set, like activate this location with your workers or whatever. I could put a couple more of these guys around. That might not hurt. Maybe the color's wrong then. But anyway, actually I think that's kind of cute. That we got these guys sitting there. Yeah, see, I think that's why I changed. So, what is fun and where is the conflict in your Sugar Shack? Yeah. Supervised does sound boring. Increase? No. Yeah, this sounds like I already do this at work, right? There needs to be something here about improving the Sugar Shack. Yeah, I think it is something a little more, related to management. Some of this is like about space. Actually, I have plenty more space right here, so I can add a little more text. I wouldn't want a lot more text. I'll come back to this one. Because I like this. Does it communicate enough? Watch the town awaken as you reveal more town locations. I think that's a neat feature of the game. Oh yeah, balance. Yeah, cool. 2 is good. Yeah, I think that it's so cool to like just stumble into some of these ideas or come up with them through dialogue, because now suddenly that is one of the coolest things about the game, is that the town takes shape over time, and then the mayor shows up and he starts getting in everybody's way. Adapt to the mayor blocking town locations temporarily but giving valuable bonuses. So this is where that the language matters here. So rather than mayor blocks town locations temporarily but gives valuable bonuses, the focus here is on what the player is doing. Adapt to the mayor blocking, right? So that was, I think, the key shift that I'm starting to try to capture. And then here I said, what did I have before? I forget. I already changed it. I could go look, I guess. Oh, work toward. Work toward doesn't sound cool. Race has intensity behind it. There's urgency there. because you're racing. So I think that's neat. Race toward variable mayor's favor and community project endgame objectives. That's wordy, I think, but it's got the energy there. Reveal more. Oh, you mean in that red? Well, I think I don't mind reducing some redundancy here, but the question is where is the eye going to travel? Right? Are they going to see are they going to see these red things anyway? I don't know. Let me zoom out a little bit. I wonder if this is better off as black text. No. I don't know, as contrast, it's actually a little bit nice, but no, it doesn't seem right. Well, except that the arrows are black and red. I don't know. Yeah. Okay. Well, I do want to come up here and revisit. You're right. It is literally just a copy of this language. I almost like rolling setup. That's wrong. I mean, I don't think rolling makes a lot of sense to people. Rolling or like it'd be interesting to try to communicate incremental setup, but that's not gonna work. Reveal more town locations. Excuse me. Reveal more town locations. Oh, yeah, evolving. Right. Well, I've got awaken here, so it'd be weird to use another image because we have the image of the town waking up, and expanding is interesting. I'm just thinking. I'm considering evolving. Evolving is a nice image too, but it really is about growth here, or coming to life, right? Rather than changing a lot. Expanding is pretty nice. It's tough to use expanding because I feel like that word is unavailable, except because of its use for expansion, like a game expansion, right? But anyway, these are things that now I can reconsider. But I just feel like it's cool to like get this game where it is, and now look, suddenly I have only 10 minutes. I'll stick around for a little while today, partly because I want to see what I can get done here for ADRA HQ, just to have a look at it. I like this. This is a little intrusive, but that's kind of what it's meant to be. I think it sounds crisp. I think it's got a nice, yeah, there's good flavor there. Shifting strategies. Look at this wordsmith, Mike. Careful now, Mike. Careful. Yeah, this one's got to change. So I'm just going to leave a note up here. Change. And maybe... And maybe even one here. Change. Don't forget, right? Change this, change this. Cool. Okay. Well, that was fun. Good progress there. A little sharpening going on. Yeah, that's great. It's crazy sales. I feel like I'm no good at this, but it's cool to try. It's also just nice to know I may have a decent product here. That's just exciting. I like these little guys sitting here now. That makes sense to me. Communicating worker placement. And then that they're sitting right here is good too. Maybe I'll put one more down here. You gotta believe in yourself, Mike. Yours looks like hot trash. I really think, I do think it's really about just settling on a template. Like if you were to look at a bunch of mine, you'll just see like I just reuse a lot. Wonder what another kind of more recent one is. Did I make? How's the rule book? Solo. Oh, Hike Oahu. I revisited Hike Oahu kind of recently. But yeah, see like exactly the same thing. Even the fonts and stuff. I'm not saying it's great, but I feel good about the 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 room, the white space I think is pretty nice in this one. The cards don't stand out super well here, but I don't mind. Oh, in this case I put the hook. Right? I labeled the hook. That's funny. Anyway, so yeah, I've just kind of settled into pretty much, you know, a kind of standard approach here with the cell sheets. And so it's cool just to copy, reuse. Obviously, some are going to be busier than others, but yeah, that's it. Okay, so I'm going to shift over to ADRA HQ. Let's see what I have in place already for this game. Yeah, that's exciting. A little progress there. So ADRA HQ, let me see. So last I worked on this game, actually I should be able to see it in Discord. Ooh, I demoted it even because I wasn't sure if it was going to go anywhere. ADRA HQ. July, that doesn't seem right. No, I've definitely worked on it a little more recently than that. So ADRA HQ. The concept here is that it's very similar to 5-minute dungeon. The gameplay would be very similar. And what I'm thinking is that, well, the main questions I have are really around how to So definitely the goal is not to just rip off 5-minute dungeon. That's not the goal. But to treat 5-minute dungeon as a sort of category of games. So where it's real time. There's speed involved. There's urgency. So I really enjoy 5 Minute Dungeon or 5 Minute Marvel. They're quickly understandable games because obviously here's this card sitting in the middle of the table. It has symbols on it. I have cards in my hand. They have symbols on them, and it just becomes a game of matching whatever's in the middle of the table. 5 Minute Dungeon takes the game. I think they did a really good job, I should say. They did a really nice job with the components here, the box size. Here, let's look at this. I guess I need to come up with I do need to define some design goals around here. Around component considerations, because I think it's probably the case that the game being packable is like really important. The only trouble is we're thinking about going to retail as well. And in that case, you want to have shelf presence. And that's what 5 Minute Dungeon does. I feel like that's the only reason to go with this weird box, right? It's because it stands out. You might want to pick that up. You might want to see what it's all about. So that's great. From a marketing standpoint, I think that's the right call. But what does ADRA need? So that's a little bit of an inventory I think I would want to do with them, and I think that's what a couple of these early meetings need to be about, is exactly what aims do they have for this game, and then how can I adapt to those aims, and also give feedback and like maybe some. It's weird. I actually, partly just because I'm really involved in the Facebook group and the BGDL Facebook group, I think I have some industry insight or like experience that would be helpful here. It's not like I have a lot, right? I'm not like testing a bunch of different products and seeing how they work, but it has been cool to be plugged in so that I have something to offer for somebody who knows nothing about the industry. So that's good. Same thing I tell my students when they start working on research papers. I'm not asking them to be experts. I'm asking them to be experts in the room. That's a really important idea for me. Same thing with musicians. Same thing with any like skill-based scenario. You don't have to be the best. You just have to be the best in the room. That's it. That's the value you offer is not for being the best in the world, it's being the best in the room. So anyway, yeah. So I love the idea of a little card game. Maybe it says, 72 cards or something like that. I think that would meet the game's needs, but I don't know that it would meet ADRA's needs. So, like for example, like I said, I think this game, it might want to be a mailer, an item that you could stick, that would hold up pretty well if you just put it in like one of those like bubble envelopes. And so, you know, a stout little box, maybe some, you know, cardboard backing or something like that. Just drop it in the mail, and it survives, you know, 99 times out of 100. I think that could be what they want. At the same time, you know, this is where you see like, you know, different, like Flip 7, right? Flip 7. Let's look that up actually. Flip 7. Flip 7 or Machikoro even comes to mind. I'm in images. Flip 7 card game. So here's the full box there that competes for attention on the shelf, right? And then here is the little hanging card box that sits among all the same, you know, the Monopoly deals and the whatever's in Walmart. So one is more, I think the focus of this one, you can't see it that well. Oh, here it is. Here it is. So this is exactly what I'm talking about. So this box is all about shelf visibility. Right? It's all about this tiny little card game standing out on the shelf. Isn't that the case? Look at how much dead space there is in this box. It's not super useful to think of it as dead space because it's actually how to think about it. This is the air in the potato chip bag right here. It's like this space actually offers value, right? Because it's worth, how to put it? It's worth the value of attention, maybe? So you open your potato chip bag and you think, wait, where are all the chips? Yeah, I mean, perceived value rather than shelf attention. I'm fine if those are almost completely overlapping. So, you know, it's the thing, oh, here's this thing that my eye caught on the shelf, and let me pick it up, and now it's this, oh, it's just a little card game in this big box. There must be something special inside, I guess. I think they're yeah, anyway, those two things are like perfectly aligned, I think. Perceived value rather than shelf attention. It's, I think you've got to be visible, right? And so that's why some of these boxes are what they are. This one is incredibly eye-catching, Flip 7. So whoever did this did a great job. Even like the foil, that shiny style, and then the bright colors, and they did a really good job. Yeah. They're targeting 2 psychographic profiles. One that's looking for a backpack travel game. Yep. The other that's looking for a family game, but in that market, they're saying, I get this much at $11? Foils for shelf presence, yeah. So I am curious what they're gonna say, what ADRA's gonna say. It's a use case question, right? It's where do they want these games to show up? Who's manipulating them? I mean, managing them. The games themselves. Are these going to be set out by retailers? Are these going to be mailed by the organization itself? Those are the kind of questions we need to ask, and that are up to ADRA. So there's a, yeah, so what I like about 5-Minute Dungeon in there, well, maybe I shouldn't have closed that too early or so early. So what I like is that you've got the player mats. Yeah. So an ROI decision. Custom box is, yeah. A small print run is pricier, definitely. Oh, I didn't realize they went to this other box style. They must have gotten a fair number of complaints, actually. Even though it's eye-catching, that box that has those angles on it, even though it's eye-catching, it's really annoying as a box size, actually. Okay. So what it does well, component-wise, is it gives all the players their individual decks, but it also gives them player mats, these little boards, for them to have their, it just shows, like, it's a place for artwork, first of all. Second of all, it helps players organize their deck. And then the third is that it shows your character's special ability. So that's what those mats are doing, those player boards. And then they also have, for the bosses, they have the boss boards where you stack the cards. And it has a little more information, as you can see it. It shows, how many dungeon cards? I forget what they are, but the challenge cards, how many get stacked on this board here. So yeah, boss number 5. It's got a name, and then it has an area which shows the final challenge, and then the number of cards to place on there. Door cards, maybe? I forget. Anyway, I think that's great, but it certainly adds to production costs, and then footprint, right? Those are the main. Those are the main effects. So it's a nice big box size, but I doubt ADRA's going to want something that spacious, taking up that much space. I mean, but I like it. It makes sense to me that, it looks better on the table, all that stuff. So it's possible that this just remains a little card game. So instead of all of those fancy components, I think what I would have is one, you would probably still have individual decks of cards. And the reason I'm saying that is because here there are, what is this one? I forgot. Let me see what I had, like a key. Okay, here we go. So what does ADRA do? That was the big question, and that's where these categories came from. So ADRA responds to or provides support through emergencies and disasters. So these icons don't really mean anything. I mean, they don't look good right now. But so I have these 4 categories of what ADRA's all about: emergencies and disasters, health needs, education, livelihood, and economic development. So I just grabbed these 4 icons from Canva just to differentiate things. One thing that is going to be really important for this game is that it's language independent, because it's an international organization. You know what's crazy? Chris from Moon Saga Workshop just shipped a couple of games to our retreat, so I'm really pumped about that. It's a game that was, I think, well funded on Kickstarter. I'm pretty sure I connected with Chris during the Kickstarter, maybe after, just after. Anyway, congrats to him for getting his game. Something in Potions. What is the name of it? Let me go to his Discord real quick. Parks and Potions. Okay, that's what I thought. Parks. Yeah, Parks and Potions. Very excited about that. And here he is. That was in August. Where was this? Gen Con, yeah. So good for him. It's a good looking game. And anyway, very generous of him. He's sending over a couple of copies for our retreat in 2 weekends. So it should, hopefully they arrive just in time. It'll be perfect. So it was really awesome to connect with 3 designers / publishers, and so we've got Mike Petty's Ozone Games. He's got some. There's like the original one, and then there's like some axe throwing one. That's basically a dexterity game where you're throwing dice, trying to land them on these little circular, almost like coasters. And it was really fun. I played it outside of Armchair a couple weeks ago, and then from Brian Shoemaker of Glass Shoe Games, Glass Shoe Games, I think. Oh, we have a little game. He sent 2 copies of Samson and Delilah, and then Chris is sending 2 copies of his Parks and Potions. Anyway, pumped about that. Okay, so language independence. That's a great thing about 5-Minute Dungeon too. And Marvel is at least there's like good iconography. There's still a bunch of text on the cards. So I really want to avoid that with this game. So anyway, here are the 4 categories and icons. And I started just laying out very, very simple cards. So the Doctor has the ability to, like in this case, there are 2 water icons. What was that? Wait. Yeah. So the resources would be oh, here. A lot of different resource types. What is it? 7. So food, drinking water, medical supplies, construction materials. What did we say? Actually, I had it listed up here. So here are the supplies. Food, water, medical supplies, shelter / building materials, tools / equipment, education and training materials, clothing and personal items. So that's what these icons represent at the moment. I mean, I'm actually curious too, when we do hang on, my friend at Mauna Loa High School, Jill, is asking if I can come into school, and today I cannot. Actually, we're starting shopping. We're starting to shop for the retreat. So I'm going into Chef Zone, which is like a big, I don't know what to call that, bulk foods kind of place. So we're gonna start making progress on shopping for next weekend. The retreat is coming. Sorry. Let's see. Hang on 1 second. It's such a tough. I don't know. This is the kind of thing that I'm not a big fan of. Like it's that sort of job where you have to like reach out to a whole bunch of people and like see if they're willing to do things and stuff. So it's funny that my friend Mario has this habit of record. He only sends audio messages, and like what did I say? Voice messages, voice. I don't know what to call them. But I have to go in there. I can't just like read it in the notification. I have to like go in and have it transcribed because I'm not going to listen to the whole thing. But that's his habit. Is he only sends voice messages? That's just funny. Okay, here it is. So I actually already have, where did I put this? Let me see if I already have. A spreadsheet. I don't think I do. So in my view, this is actually a good, like a helpful use of AI tools. I'll show you what I mean. So one of the design considerations here is about how to differentiate a player's deck, one player's deck from another player's deck. So in the game, I think this is probably going to be a 4-player game, maybe 5. 5 might be too many, but we have these roles essentially, just like in the Marvel or in the dungeon versions of the game of the 5-minute games. Make my own. Okay. Let me see where this was. So this is a helpful thing. No, where is that? Where was this? ADRA. Game design research, is that it? No, that was just to see if other humanitarian orgs have games. By the way, there are a few games that I forget. Now I'd have to go back and look at them, but there are some humanitarian groups or organizations that have designed games to help people either gain some awareness or develop a sense of what it is those groups do. So that's interesting. Why am I not finding this? Medic, no. I don't think it's here in the game proposal. No. No. So I don't know what. I know for sure I had. I wonder if it's HQ. No. It's still a proposal. Anyway, what I had Gemini do was like I picked 4 characters. So they were associated with these types of response. So there is first responder, doctor, teacher. What was the last one? Builder maybe, or something like that. But each, so then the question is like, how, what is the, does the doctor, what does the doctor do better than the teacher? And one way to think about that is if we talk about like the distribution of icons in their deck. So if every player has because you don't know how many players you're going to have, every player would need to have between, let's say it's minimum 2 players. Probably minimum 1 is fine. But let's say let's say it's a 1 or 2 player game. Every individual every character needs to have all icons available, but they should be in different distributions, so that the doctor is more likely to bring the medical supplies and maybe the clothing and personal, what did I say? Personal items, whereas the builder is going to bring shelter and building materials and tools and equipment, or is more likely to have those things available. So that's the way to differentiate. And the same thing is true in 5-minute games. There is like a difference in the distribution of icons. So yeah, I don't know. I was just gonna show that basically what I had Gemini do. Huh. Oh, that's nice. That'd be nice and simple. You could I think trade. So have you played the 5-minute games, Mike? The general idea, yeah. So the general idea is that you discard cards from your hand that show icons. There's no. It's just like this. So here, for example, would be a character's card in their deck. So the doctor has a card that has 2 fresh water. Yeah. Yeah. Right. And anyway, here's a challenge card that has 2 water symbols on it. So the doctor would discard their card to this card. They would just, play the card onto this emergency and disaster card to satisfy that requirement of having 2 waters. So I need something that simple. Like that's this kind of standard that we're aiming toward. In terms of complexity. So I think trading is probably a concept that, or converting, might be a little beyond the complexity level. Because it's literally just, do you have the icons in your hand to match the icons on this card? Cool. Discard that card, and that's it. Also, it's not a problem I don't think it's a problem to have these different decks. Could. Yeah, you could. I can write a couple things down here, I guess. First thing is to move this back up here. So how to represent different character strengths, character abilities. This game is officially on. So one way to do it is differentiate different decks, right? Different decks with distributions of icons with differing distributions of icons. Then there's another let's see, give a conversion rate. Allow conversion. So let's say, yeah, let's just say it's the doctor. Doctor can discard 2 for a medical supplies. 2 cards. Yeah, something like that makes sense to me. I forget how many cards are in the decks of each. I wonder if I can ask. I really don't know what happened to this. Because I don't think it was Grok. It might have been Grok, actually. It wouldn't have been that long ago, I feel. Let me see. It's been a long time since... Well, Grok 4 came out, right? Isn't it Grok 4? It's been a while since I signed in. It might be... Oh, it is here. Excuse me. I don't see the icon distribution stuff here, though. Where do I find that? I'm looking for the way to see like I had it yeah, I had a discussion here and I know for sure, oh no, it's not the rules. Yeah, it wasn't that. I don't remember how to find like the files. Show me the, what are these called? What are these called? You know what? I wonder if I kind of lost the ability to do some of this because I don't have the premium version anymore. What is this? Markdown? No. Yeah, edit in files. Oh, interesting. They have their own file section now. Let's see, ADRA. Huh. What is that about? Anyway, I know for sure I made progress on this. Just having this AI tool, whichever one it was, Gemini or um, Grok, it just helped me with those distributions. And so, prompting it with let's have a range of 2 icons to up to 5 icons. I had it, have if each deck was 30 cards, then maybe 3 or 4 would have 5 icons, and then a whole bunch would have 2 icons, and then I staggered the numbers in between. And then on each card, there would be some distribution of icons. The doctor focuses on these icons, so make sure there's a higher percentage of those. Anyway, it was through some prompts, the tool was able to build a little spreadsheet very quickly that would help in pretty much automatically building out these cards. Because that's what I'm seeing, right? Like a lot of these games, especially now that I've spent time on Sugar Shack from a spreadsheet approach. I guess I've seen it before too, where the characteristics that you might want to include on cards, it's just really about being thorough in the distribution. So I have seen, I remember something about Spot It. You ever seen videos on the math of Spot It? Didn't they have to like figure out some new math or something like that? It was crazy, right? Yeah, I really don't know how. I definitely don't have the capabilities, the math background to understand much of what's going on in Spot It. But it is really impressive how somebody figured out. Because the main thing is you need a deck of cards and a variety of symbols on those cards in such a way that there's only one match between them. There's always a match and there's always only one match or something like that. Yeah, it's unreal. I can't remember how it works, but it's just yeah, really, really impressive. Somebody figured that out. I don't know that this needs to be so sophisticated. The reason I don't think it does, there needs to be some sophistication, but I think that's limited to making sure that every deck has all symbols, but the distribution can be different of each symbol. The distribution of each symbol can be different. As I said, I think I don't know where I need to look to find this, but it looked to me like the AI tool did a decent job of just making sure there's a variety of cards and that the symbols are reasonably spread out among those cards. And I think, honestly, I think some of this would just come down to playtesting. Once we built out these cards. The other mechanic I was thinking, well, pretty much my dream was to combine the 5-minute dungeon mechanic or model with Magic Maze. Magic Maze is one of my absolute favorite games to share with people. It's fun to play. It's hard, but it's pretty mind-blowing, I think. So Yeah. Magic Maze is really cool. Mike, have you played Magic Maze? Oh, oh no way. This is my first time seeing somebody on Twitch. I don't know when these comments showed up. But anyway, welcome Harley. It's a little sad to me. It looks like mostly it's like these sort of bot things that show up and just say, "Hey, why don't you go get some followers somewhere?" To me, that's not that interesting. Um, okay, yeah. So, Magic Maze. What I was thinking is that pretty much you could picture this card, the HQ part, right? That's where the idea of the ADRA HQ comes from. Is that in the center of the table, um, along with these, the challenge cards would be ADRA HQ itself. So this card representing, this building where there are people managing this response. And so my thinking is that either just like in Magic Maze, each player has a different role where they can control this pawn. So right, so here are each of the 4 icons, and then whoever's got the appropriate ability card, they can move the pawn to where it needs to go based on the challenge card that shows up. So that was one thought. Another thought, for simplicity's sake, was just to discard a card showing that arrow, right? So if there are also arrows distributed on the cards, um, it'd be a perspective question, and so I think it does kind of limit. It would limit the game to 4 players because I would think that the arrow needs to be like relative to my position uh, at the table. I guess I also don't love that. It'd be nice to have another system. That's what the North thing is all about in Magic Maze, right? Just orienting these cards a certain way. Um, yeah, anyway, Harley, looks like I missed you, but thanks for stopping by. But anyway, that's the vision was to blend those 2 games. So blend the card play of 5-minute dungeon with the how to say it, the limited abilities of each player in 5-minute incoming message. Yeah, the limited movement abilities in Magic Maze. So those 2 things. Okay, so my next appointment is at um, hmm, is at 9. Let me see what you've got here. Players have their hand of cards plus one card that is the pawn card. Based on the cards that are out, any player can play their pawn card to move the pawn to an area they think they have a good chance of completing. Once your pawn card is down, you can't use it until all the other players have played theirs. So I could kind of see like a focus mechanic. I think that's something like what you're saying. I'm gonna move I'm gonna move the focus pawn to the situation that we're going to the challenge card that we're gonna focus on. I could see something like that. So players, yeah, any player can play their pawn card to move the pawn to an area they think they have a good chance of completing. And this is definitely not like somebody working by themselves. So I have 2 water icons. You have, you know, 2 building supply icons, and we both discard to satisfy the icons, the requirements on the challenge card. What I was thinking about HQ was something like, in order to complete the card, in order to start discarding cards to complete the challenge, the pawn needs to be in the right spot. And that would be, you know, that's where a player moving a pawn around would matter. I actually don't mind the idea that more than one challenge card comes out at a time. And in fact, there was a time, even if I scrolled up here, like, what I was actually thinking, I think this could get out of hand, but what I was actually thinking was that 2 or 3 mini games are happening at the same time. So you've got these challenge cards, or there are certain types of disasters, for instance, or situations that ADRA is responding to. So maybe an education situation works completely differently from a disaster. Oh, actually, at that time I was thinking something more like, there are fires, there are floods, there are these other bad things, and each one of those needs a certain type of, like, you're rolling dice, or you're stacking things, or you've got, what are those, like, not polyominoes, but you're making a shape with the triangles and and squares, and you're like rearranging them to like fill a silhouette, so there'd be little puzzles to do, and this is all under time pressure. That seemed like a good idea, and then I just kind of simplified back to some really basic discard cards, maybe move the pawn around, but I don't mind. I'm going to add the idea of a focus pawn. I actually also like that, because my fear is that players would essentially forget the step of moving a pawn to the correct, covering the correct icon on the HQ card, for instance. I think that would be probably an ongoing problem. And so if there was both a focus pawn and if there was both a focus pawn that gets placed on a challenge, no, this is assuming there's more than one challenge at a time. Well, if the players just have to go through the motions of moving a pawn in the HQ and placing a pawn on the card, then that actually would definitely reinforce remembering to make sure that you are in the right position to be able to meet the requirements of a certain challenge card. Move a pawn to the challenge card. You know, and certain challenge cards could make you flip up other cards, right? So that could also be a cool thing. Like, add an extra card. You know, maybe disaster cards make you flip an extra card with it, right? So that could be a cool thing. And in that case, then you would have to prioritize. You'd have to like have a focus pawn placed on a card that you're actually all working on. Or I don't know. This could get complicated. Maybe only the doctor can work on this one, or the doctor and teacher can work on this one. Right. Could have add a challenge card in the player's deck. Yeah, I think it could be interesting to, or maybe as like a, not a punishment, but if there are like a couple of rounds or something, depending on how well you do in the round, then you add and shuffle a couple of those cards into your decks. That could be kind of cool too. Move a pawn in the challenge, at the same time move a pawn to the appropriate icon on the HQ card. Shuffle, add a challenge card. Into players' decks. Let's say some challenges can only be completed by certain characters. I don't know how we could reinforce that, especially if there are only, if there's only one or two players. Or maybe if there are one or two players, then you have to play with certain characters. That kind of thing. That doesn't sound cool to me, though. This is 9:24. Brainstorming. Okay, Mike, I think that's it for me for today. Oh, almost at 2 hours. I'm excited to get out and go shopping for the retreat, see how that goes, see what we find. Anyway, very productive day. Or a max number of characters. Yeah. This one is going to be, it's going to be really important to like both be a little expansive in like what's possible, like check out the design space, explore the design space quite a bit, and then rein it way back in. Because I think this game could be, there could be like an advanced version of it eventually, or there could be expansions to it and stuff. But the one that is going to be the quotes mass market version, it's going to be super stripped down, super duper simple. So there will be very few requirements, very few things you have to teach. It's just going to be like kind of the most basic, most welcoming version of the game. So it'll be fun to like ask like what's possible that differentiates the game from 5-Minute Dungeon and Magic Maze, but that also remains super duper accessible. Like there's not much to talk about when we teach. Just start taking turns, or we just start bringing out challenge cards and doing it. That's really going to be what it takes. Maybe add or experiment a little bit with adding 1 or 2 mechanics or something like that. But it's got to be ridiculously simple. So that's certainly a design goal here, with the potential to grow and complicate. If the game actually does any kind of well. But it'll be fun to explore. It's a challenge. It's a challenge for all of us, right? Like, how do we keep it fresh and interesting for ourselves, and then also make sure that it's accessible for the average non-gamer? That'll be a cool puzzle here. Anyway, as always, Mike, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for your ideas, feedback, and to anyone else, including this random Harley figure who I may never see again on Twitch. Thanks for stopping by. And have a great day. See you soon.